So today I'm going to teach you guys how to make an origami decagonal sphere. The sphere is going to look just like in the picture right there. So there are two requirements we're going to need to make our decagonal sphere. First is your paper, just like in all origami, you're going to need paper. And the second thing is we're going to specifically need perfect square paper. Now you can go out on other videos and see how people make perfect squares, but luckily I'm going to teach you guys in this video. Now the first step is to take your 8.5 by 11 piece of paper and fold it in half vertically. For us who do not remember, vertically is the hot dog style from middle school. Now that we have made a crease down the middle as a reference point, we can fold any corner into the center fold line. This will create a perfect right triangle. Now that we have one of our corners folded down to the middle, we're going to fold that right triangle over on itself, and this is going to create two separate halves on your paper, one with a triangle and one without. With your right triangle being folded down, you can either lick or rip along the crease line we just made, because this is going to separate our two halves, one again with nothing on it and the other with our perfect right triangle. Putting the larger half of the piece of paper away, we're going to take the smaller half and keep that folded right triangle down, and again fold the right triangle over on itself. This is creating two perfect right triangles. With your two right triangles, we're going to rip along the edge, creating two halves, one with two triangles and one with nothing on them. And voila! We have now made our perfect square. I would recommend stopping the video and making 11 more of these, total of 12, because we're going to, in the end, we're going to need 12 total pieces of paper to make all of our origami shapes. Taking one of the perfect squares, we're going to fold it in half. If you'll notice, with it being a perfect square, it doesn't matter which way you fold it, because either way you'll end up with the same shape. That crease we just made down the middle of the paper is going to be more of a reference point for the next fold. We're going to take our two open-ended tabs and fold half of them into the middle where they meet. This is going to create three perfect lines, evenly spaced, and four sections that are all evenly spaced apart as well. Now with our three lines being folded on the paper and four even sections, we're going to take opposite corners and fold them into the first crease. As we did earlier when we were making our perfect squares, remember? We were doing this a couple times. The important part of this is to stay constant with which corners you fold and which opposite corner you fold. For example, whenever I'm doing my paper, I always have my lines facing horizontal compared to me on my desk. And I will start with the lower right and then do the upper left corner with it being opposite as my two triangles. If you switch it up, you will have opposite shapes and it won't work out in the end. The next step, with those two triangles being folded down, we're going to take the two open tabs and fold them into the middle. We've already done this crease, so it should do this on its own. Just fold them over. With both these sections being folded over, you're going to notice that they each will have their triangular parts being tucked under as tabs, and we're going to fold along those crease lines, creating two 90-degree right triangles in opposite corners, in opposite directions as well. And in the middle, there's going to be a rhombus, which I guess you could look at it as either going to be two rhombuses or one. Two meaning that there's one on the top part and one on the bottom, or one if you look at it with the center section being cut up. With both of the triangular tabs being folded over and creating one giant rhombus, this is what it should look like. The front will have both your tabs, and on the back there should only be one crease, and it should just be a flat piece of paper. On the side that has both our triangular tabs folded over, we're going to open up one of the tabs, and underneath you will notice that there's a little pocket for this triangular tab to fit under. Now I realize this part may be a little tricky for the first time doing this, but open it up and try and maneuver the tab into there. And you guessed it, we're going to do it to the other side as well. Take one of the tabs, open it up, and tuck it underneath its pocket. This should create a tight knit rhombus together. Now this is going to be a good stopping point. On your origami, you should have a front and back. The back will have nothing on it, and the front will have a pinwheel like two tucked tabs. Now we're going to have the pinwheel like tabs, we're going to have those facing down, so the flat side's facing up. If you look at your piece of origami, you should notice that there's a square in the middle and your two triangular tabs are on the side. We're going to fold those triangular tabs over, creating one close-knit square in the middle. The square should have a diagonal across it, which would be the two triangles. Now that we have a square, we're going to flip our piece of origami over and fold along that center crease line that should already be there. The key part about this is that we want our two tabs to be faced outwards when we fold it. And voila again, we have now created our very first origami piece. The only downside is that you now need to make 11 more of these for a total of 12. A key note is that when we had our tabs facing out, there should have been a spring effect, and it should generate a picture like this. Another key note I would like to touch on before we actually start putting it all together is it's very important to make your creases very crisp and precise. Now that you've gone through the video one time, it should be more familiar when you start doing your next pieces. So just take note when you're doing your folds to make them very precise, crisp, and it's also important to have your perfect square as perfect as possible. Now if we take two of our pieces of origami, I just want to talk about the structure of them. You will notice that there are two triangular tabs on the end, and there's also going to be two triangular pockets that we're going to be tucking these tabs into. And our second step is actually to take one of our triangular tabs and tuck it into another's pocket. This should make them close and tight together if you do your creases and folds correctly. Now that we have two origami pieces stuck together, we're going to take a third piece and stick its tab inside the last remaining open pocket. Finally, once we have two tabs tucked into two of the pockets, we're going to take the last final open tab and stick it in the final pocket. This should create a perfect triangle, of all of them tucked together and in one neat form. There should be 3 of them, so if you recall, 3 times 4 is 12, so we're going to be making a total of 4 of these triangular shapes out of 12 of our pieces of paper. Now with our 4 pieces of triangular parts all put together, we're going to take 2 of them and stick 2 of the tabs and 2 of the pockets. This is really the same process as we were doing before, but just condensed down into an easier, more manageable form, I feel like. Now if you were able to successfully put 6 of the 12 pieces of origami together, you should really know what is coming up next. We're going to put another cluster of those 3 in with the tabs and the pockets. And it's really just the same process over and over. Now I wanted to touch on a couple other things before this video is over. You can actually make larger shapes called dodecagons. I forget the ones that go higher and higher, but you can make 3 more, and just keep adding them and making them a little bit larger and larger. I believe the configuration is the exact same, but I hope you guys enjoyed my video. Feel free to comment on it, rate it. If you guys have any questions or hard parts you can't figure out, just comment and I'll gladly put up a video to help you guys out. And good Good luck, and I hope it all works out for you. It's really a cool shape. Alright, have a good one.